what it looks like?
I think it's better.
You're very tall. How
Yeah.
tall are you?
182.
That's amazing.
I love to be
Me too. I like
tall.
being tall.
Yeah, because men
Yes.
are like, tall,
Yes,
you know?
yeah, it's like, oh. It's very sexy, I think. Being
I
tall.
think too.
Yes, I need it too.
And I think when you're a singer,
Yeah,
the highest and
looks
bigger, but
amazing.
yeah,
Oh my God,
People see you.
like a statue.
like a mountain.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
Look at Jessie Norman.
Oh yeah.
She was a mountain.
Yes, and fabulous.
Yes. Woo. Okay, let's start. Are you ready?
Yes.
Bienvenue à tous dans ce nouvel épisode de Tips and Tricks. J'ai pas tourné depuis plusieurs mois et aujourd'hui je redémarre les tournages avec une invitée de marque, Nadine Sierra. Finally we could do this episode.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm very happy. How do
Me
you feel
too.
right now?
I feel great.
Between shows of Traviata.
I feel good. I feel inspired, you
Yeah.
know, in between the shows because, I mean, every single show is, of course, different,
Yeah.
thankfully, as they should be, I think. And I don't know, something about that ever-changing evolution of what we're doing on stage and then with each other. It's very inspiring for me. And I'm learning a lot, you know, more and
Yeah?
more and more as I go. About this art form, about why I love this art form, about the opera itself,
Yeah.
about my colleagues.
Yeah, because it's not your first Traviata.
Yes,
And
that's right.
do you have, I guess you have another one incoming.
Yes.
So how do you do to, let's get into it right now.
Yeah, sure. All right, let's do it.
How do you, I mean, Violetta is not your first Violetta here. It's your first Violetta in Opéra de Paris, but not your first Violetta ever. How do you let the magic happen again? Is it different from the first time?
Yes, for sure. I think the more experience one gets with a role, it's definitely going to be different. And you know, I think it also depends on how your personal life is changing, right? Then you start to see things perhaps within the plot of the opera. You start to understand them a little bit more. And you know, Violetta, she's really a grown woman. She has been through many different kinds of relationships, as we know, and she's lived through a lot in her life and struggled through a lot in her life. And me too. I've been through a lot of things in my life, especially a lot of heartbreak in my life, and have had to learn, you know, how to cope with those relationships and still keeping empathetic and still having compassion, not just for others, but for myself. And there is something about that with bringing that into a character like Violetta. So when I made Violetta 2 years ago for the first time, I was a different person. And I'm happy for those differences because she for me, like Gilda, like Lucia, these women never stay stagnant in my brain. They evolve as I evolve personally.
Yeah. It's not depending only of the staging, it's depending of you too. Yeah.
If you allow that, you know, if a singer allows that.
Yes.
I think sometimes we can fear accessing that depth of a character because, you know, we always want to sing a certain way and we want the singing to remain beautiful, but there is a part of these characters that many times we can really dive deep into if we access the depths of our own souls.
Yeah, but it's maybe hard to keep a good balance between not be too involved, I guess, because it can impact your vocal capacities or your stability on stage. How do you keep this balance?
I'm learning actually now.
Yeah.
Through this Violetta, I've been learning how to find that balance. I will say there are moments I go maybe a little too far. And then I do remind myself, you know, as I'm doing the role, I remind myself, you know, Nadine, pull a little bit back because if you don't, you will perhaps waste too much voice.
Yeah.
and also you waste too much of your own emotions.
Yeah.
And I like to go home feeling tired after a show, but I don't want to go home feeling destroyed after a show. So I'm finding that balance, what it is.
Yes, and dying on stage, I guess, is not helping, right?
Yes, dying, and this theme of losing love in one's life.
Yeah,
it hits deeply.
Yeah, and when you think about what women's on stage characters dive in, I mean, death, of course. Juliet of Bruno, maybe Capile Montequita too, but she's like how do you say?
Suicide.
Yes, craziness and madness, Lucia, yes, or raped too. Oh. It's really hard to stay, peaceful inside.
Yes, absolutely.
And to be
grounded.
Yeah, I guess it's not that easy to find.
Sometimes it's not, but it depends. It depends on what you're willing to show an audience and what you'd like to keep for yourself.
Keep it for yourself, yeah.
Yes.
And I guess the staging help or not sometimes.
Yes, exactly.
That kind of experience that you are living here or Met Opera, big houses, are maybe stressful for you. How do you deal with the stress, if you have?
I do have a stress, but actually my stress is not inside of the opera house. My stress is in my personal life.
Okay.
Like how, I don't know, sometimes I feel more at home inside of an opera house than I feel at home.
At your place?
Yeah, because of course also when I'm traveling, many of the places that I'm living in, they're either hotels or they're Airbnbs. They're not places that I would consider home.
Yeah.
So sometimes, let's say after a rehearsal, I'll feel more comfortable being with my colleagues and making music and having fun and laughing and singing together. And then I'll go home, and at the end of the day, I feel like a separation anxiety from that experience.
Yeah.
Because then I think, okay, well, now what am I going to do? And so I've had to kind of learn it's okay to have one life of career and having fun with your colleagues and having fun on stage, and then having fun for yourself and having your own time to either shop or see a movie or go to a museum or just take a walk, So my stresses don't lie in the theater. They lie in just normal life.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm not quite sure what normal life is.
Yeah.
I have to really look for it.
Yeah. Is it too hard to get a private life, to get a personal life when you are used to travel in between opera house and in between? You can find a family with your colleagues.
Yes.
But I guess it's different when you have, a lover, babies, parents, your sister.
Yes.
I know
yes.
you show her on social media, and I think you have a great relationship. Isn't it too hard to be far from them and dealing with that personal life that is not really in your day-to-day life? I don't know if it's clear.
Yes, it is actually. It can be difficult. I do find it more difficult nowadays to be separated from my parents.
Yeah.
Because my parents and we have a very lovely relationship and a very close relationship, thankfully. And my parents are growing older, as all of our parents do. And I'm watching that growth, and I think about it daily. The day that, I know it's a sort of a morbid thought, but I do think, when is the day that I'm going to wake up one day and I don't have my parents anymore?
Yeah.
And trying to preserve those moments that we are able to spend time together. They've become so precious to me. Thankfully, my parents are coming here to Paris for an extended amount of time, which I'm so happy for, and honestly I'm counting down the days because I really love spending time with them. So it's hard in that way, and it is also hard, making relationships.
Someone knocked, right?
Yes, someone knocked. Oh, right, sorry. Anyway, so yes, parents is one thing. Having a relationship, yes, it's tough. Also because the life I lead, traveling around all of the time, not really having that kind of stability that I think a lot of people really want in their lives, especially to develop a family. I haven't found that yet. I really haven't.
And does it make you sometimes reconsider your level of career, or you're like, I will figure it out anyway?
It's more that, because I don't want to regret making decisions that are putting, let's say, what I do in this art form. I don't want it to have a negative context in my mind. Like, oh, this career is taking away from me this, that. Because actually this, the ability to create within this art form, it brings so much joy and positivity to my life. And it's been like that since I was a child.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just waiting to see how life develops.
Yeah.
And staying positive and staying hopeful, because I wouldn't want to live in the other realm of, feeling despair or feeling darkness around.
Yeah. And I guess you worked really hard to get here. So about the beginning of your career and stress again, was it hard to find a quiet inside when you passed first auditions, or when you had a big contest like for competitions like Neue Stimme?
Neue Stimmen, yeah.
Yeah. How did you find the peace inside you?
So this mezzo-soprano, Marilyn Horne, a great American mezzo-soprano, she was a mentor of mine when I was around 17. I met her, and she gave me beautiful opportunities when I was very young. And of course her belief and her faith in me was, that gave me so much confidence. And she told me very early on, because I asked her, how do I go about doing these competitions and performing for, sort of major events? What would your advice be? And she said, don't expect anything. Have no expectations at all. Just go into every single thing that you're doing as an opportunity for a positive outcome. Either you're learning something from it, or you're meeting new peers, or even if you meet a new best friend, don't think negatively like, I want to win, this award, and just have no expectations at all. And it will free you from the pressure or the stress that you would otherwise put on yourself. And she was absolutely right. And I think I've done that for the majority of the time since I met her, and she gave me that advice. Yeah. Even
in auditions for Opera House, because you knew that you will have the job or no, and it's really stressful, right?
Yeah. But it's this idea that if you don't get, let's say you audition and you don't get the job, that's not the only opportunity.
Yeah.
There are other opportunities that will be there. And perhaps, if you are a believer in that, which I am, perhaps things are not meant to be at a certain time in one's life, but they are meant to be at another time. And I guess I fully trust in the universe, or
me too.
And so I guess the go with the flow energy and just enjoy your present moment in life. Yeah, that's been the biggest blessing, I think.
Yeah, I think that things happen for a reason, and it's gonna grow you up.
Yes.
It's gonna learn you something,
I think so.
So yeah, I think it's a good advice. I would love to have before,
Yes, I
because
understand.
sometimes I was like, I had to be successful, and it has to be like this, and and now I'm like, if it's good, it's good. If it's not, I will pass away, and I will find something else, you
Yes,
know.
yes.
Life is full of opportunities, and you have to create to these opportunities, because this job, we know it's not only voice, it's not only how you sing on stage and everything, it's a lot of political contact, you know.
There are many elements to this job.
Yeah, you have to talk, but not that much.
Right. Yeah, there is a lot of acceptance of those various elements that one has to bring into their life, but it is how it is.
Yeah, and sometimes you think that it's just singing, but I don't think so.
It's like an onion, has many layers, many layers.
Yes. Do you have a kind of a ritual before going up on stage?
Yes.
What it is?
Okay. So my way of decompressing and releasing, you know, nervous energy or even excited energy, I go to the gym in the morning. Also on show days I go, not to, you know, have a crazy workout but just to do something with the body, just to move, either stretch, I'll do a little bit of Pilates, or just something to like wake my body up, but also do something in a way that's connected to singing, but is also detached. It's my time. It's time that I've made then for myself, and private time as well.
Yeah.
So I do that in the morning, and I'll make myself brunch. I'm a big brunch kind of person. I love it. And I'll do that, and I don't know, I just do things that throughout the day before the performance make me feel good, normal, at ease, perhaps even take my mind off of the upcoming performance, because I don't like to live in a world where I'm anticipating the entire day for that, you know, those 3 hours that will happen in the evening. That to me is not a healthy life, you know.
Yeah, to focus only on that, you have to go out of this bubble.
Yes,
I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
If not, you're like focused always, and you only think about that. And
exactly.
Yeah, and we talk off camera about reflux.
Yes.
And I think a lot of singers have that.
Oh.
How do you deal with that? You have sometimes, and do you take, I don't know, pills of natural things or to get off?
Sometimes I take probiotics.
Yeah.
I will take that. I don't take any medication. I used to. Quite frankly, the medication made it a little bit worse.
Oh yeah.
Because actually my having reflux came from stress. It came from hyper-focusing on, you know what? It came from hyper-focusing on the fact that I had reflux. So because I was so focused on the fact that I had acid reflux, I would have even more acid reflux.
Yeah, because it was stressful and...
Yes. So finally, you know, I just said, enough. I'm not going to take medication. I'm not going to focus on this any longer and obsess. I'm not going to keep my bed, because I used to elevate my bed.
Oh, yeah.
I said, enough. I'm just going to sleep normally. I'm going to try to eat as, you know, healthily as I can without restricting, because I was also restricting what I could eat at that time. And my God, that really added to my stress. And you know what? When I did that and I just sort of let it go, my body took care of itself.
Magic happens.
Yes. I think the brain is super, super powerful. And the thoughts that we feed our body is eventually how our body is going to react.
Yeah. Oh, before an audition, it's not going to be okay. I'm sure I won't sing in good. And you're like, of course.
Yeah, the thoughts you give the body's like, okay, well,
let's do this.
Let's do this then.
About your repertoire, has it been always clear that you were soprano, lyrical soprano, or at the beginning of your studies you was like diving in and up and down? And
It's never been very clear.
Oh yeah.
Even today, it's not really that clear anymore. At first, when I was studying with my voice teacher, Ciaoooo, he would tell me when I was very young, you know, I think maybe you're a mezzo. And I thought, really? You think I'm a mezzo? He said, yeah, maybe. And we used to focus a lot on mezzo repertoire, but actually what he was trying to do was he was trying to really develop the middle of the voice, so that it had a good foundation then for the top registers. But he did consider maybe, because even at that age, I'm speaking maybe 13, 14, 15 years old, I had a little bit of a color in the middle of the range. So he wasn't quite sure, but we kept studying, and yes, of course, I then it was okay, I was a soprano. But then it's gone from sort of a light lyric soprano, then into more coloratura, because of course I've done Lucia and Sonnambula.
Do you still singing Lucia?
Yes, I'm going to sing Lucia at Covent Garden very soon.
Okay.
And I'll say my voice has grown over the years, and it's like wanting to be a lyric soprano, but there's still the extension in the top, and of course from the bel canto roles that I've sung, it sort of prepared my overall vocal technique to be able to do a variety of things. Yeah. So honestly, I really don't know what I am at this point. I feel like I'm in the middle. Right now.
At a point you're in between.
Right.
Yeah, because you've sung like Susanna.
Yes.
And I read sometime that you were more comfortable in Susanna than Contessa.
Yes.
You did Contessa sometimes?
I did.
And you said that it was hard.
It was harder, yes.
And now, do you think you could?
Yes.
Go back to Contessa?
Oh,
You'd love to?
I would love to.
Listen to her.
Yes. More Mozart. That would be nice. I mean, I would absolutely love to. I remember even this particular time you're mentioning, I was really scared to...
About Contessa?
Yeah. Because also I was 27 years old. And at that point, I had never really considered myself to be more on the lyric side of a soprano. And, of course, you have so many different great singers who have portrayed Contessa. Not that I want to put that pressure on me, because I don't. But, of course, being young and impressionable, I really wanted to please people and please myself.
Yeah. You think now it would be easier to sing Contessa than when you were 27?
Yes.
With less fear and...
Yeah, I think that's what it is, right? I think it's the fear. Because, if we're honest about who Contessa is, she's a young woman. She's, and she's Rosina, right? So I guess it could be played that perhaps she's you could use a younger singer for someone like Contessa, who has maybe slightly a lighter texture to the voice than expected. No, absolutely nowadays it would be a big pleasure.
Oh.
Big.
I would love to see that. Contessa is one of my favorite characters. She's tough.
Oh yeah.
She's tough. And
she is.
Yes, I love tough women.
Me too. Me too.
That's why I love to be a mezzo, because
yes, you're very lucky in that sense.
But yes, Contessa, she has balls.
She does. She's Rosina.
Yeah.
We see Rosina in Barbiere. She's not to be played with. This girl, and she's cunning and she's smart.
Yeah.
And at the end, she gets what she wants. And I think that character arc, it doesn't end just because all of a sudden she becomes Contessa Almaviva.
Yeah.
So.
As you sang Rossini?
No.
You're not a fan?
You know why? Because Rossini for me, when I was very young, I was already at that age, I was a romantic. Yeah. I loved anything lush and juicy and long lines these legato phrases in Puccini. Yes. Yeah. And I just thought, Rossini, all these little notes and all of the coloraturas that go with it, and it just never appealed to me, and it still doesn't. But like when I watch ballet, I watch the dancers and I think, wow, this is an amazing art form. They're so incredible. Look at how they are. I wish to never be a ballerina, but I can appreciate what they do. Oh, yeah. It's the same with watching my colleagues singing Rossini. I will never do it. I don't want to, but I appreciate all of that work. And I'm really in awe of the people that can sing this repertoire so well.
I'm kind of like that, like you for Rossini. I love it. I tried to work Isabella. I love her, but god damn, it's hard. Yeah. I mean, other roles I'm working, it's hard too, but I think
it's like a different kind of difficulty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, coloraturas.
Because there are some difficulties or challenges in voice that you enjoy facing, but then there are others that it's a little annoying to face them.
Yeah.
And for Rossini, for me, I totally...
Yeah.
Wait, sorry.
Sorry, but we need to take place.
Okay.
But there is a dressing room free just at the second floor if you need to...
Let's go there if you're okay.
Let's go, yes.
On a dû changer de loge, on s'est fait déloger, mais nous revoilà dans une autre loge au deuxième étage.
It's okay.
Oh my god.
Hello.
I'm very sorry.
No, don't worry.
Ciao Giorgio.
Ciao amore,
Come stai?
che fai qui?
Un'intervista.
Scusa,
No,
vado via
non c'è
subito,
problema, non c'è problema.
Ciao, bravo.
Ciao Giorgio, ciao.
Have you sung other roles of Mozart?
Yes, I did Pamina. You talk about the third lady, but Pamina, which I love. I love Pamina very much. Of course, Contessa, Susanna, Despina I've done. Who else? Ilia as well. Yeah. In Idomeneo, yes. Which I did with James Levine before, a few years before he passed away.
Vitalia, is a question for you?
I was asked at some point. I don't know about now. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I would have to look at the part again. I remember when I was asked about this role, it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And I thought,
not now.
No. So maybe I would have to look at it and see what it's like.
Yeah.
Because in 4 or 5 years, as you know very well, because of us being women, the voice changes a lot.
Oh yeah.
A lot. Mm-hmm. So who knows?
Yeah. And about women voices, do you have some trouble because of the
hormones?
Hormones, yes. And I don't know how to... Periods.
Yes. 100%.
And how do you do to let it behind you?
Yeah, those symptoms.
Yeah.
It's difficult, I have to say. So usually for when I know that my period is coming, I'll try to take things, especially turmeric.
Okay.
Sort of anti-inflammatory things. Bromelain as well.
Yeah.
Because they say that, when we are on our periods, that there's a little bit of swelling that occurs in the vocal cords. And because of that thickness that happens, sometimes it's a little bit harder to reach the top of the voice, or it could feel that the shifting in between registers is not as flexible. Mm-hmm. And I definitely feel a little bit of that difference. So I'll try to take anti-inflammatory things, just drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
What else? And eat meat.
Oh yeah?
Yes, I'm a meat eater. I know that there are some people who are vegan or vegetarian, but there's something about eating meat for
red
me.
Red or white?
Red.
It's help you?
Oh yes.
Oh.
A lot. Really helps me.
And it does not give you reflux?
At all. At all. No.
Wow.
At all. Yeah.
So nice.
I know. Yes, thank God. Yes.
Now this is a precise technique question.
Yes.
That a couple of singers are very jealous apparently of your breath.
Ah, okay.
I wrote, how did you develop that breath? Is there any particular breath exercise you do? This is very specific.
I'm gonna say something that might be annoying. There is no breath exercise that I do, but when I was a kid, a really young kid, I think I was starting to swim, my God, at like 8 months, something like this, because I'm from Florida, right? So being from this sort of more tropical climate, swimming is a really big sport that we all do. So I was constantly at the beach. My parents, when I was young, thankfully they had a pool outside, and I was in the water so many hours per day that actually my hands and my feet, I remember they used to be torn apart from the water. My feet used to bleed like crazy because I was constantly swimming. I could not get out of the water. And I also wanted to be a mermaid. I
Rusalka, maybe?
A bit. It was more like Disney, Ariel.
Okay,
I wanted to be Ariel.
This is one of my favorite.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I loved her. I wanted to be her. I was convinced I was her. So I was always in the pool, always swimming. And I think this exercise that I was constantly doing every single day, it unknowingly developed this sort of breath control. I would say if anyone's wanting to build up their stamina when it comes to holding breath, swimming would be a very good sport to, check out possibly. To train. Any form of exercise, any exercise that elevates your heart rate, where you're really having to breathe quite heavily. There have been times also that I have practiced, so I guess this is a breathing exercise. I've practiced just on a treadmill, walking, kind of at a quicker pace, and singing at the same time, and seeing how well I do with that, So this is also a form of training. And one odd thing, it's a visual thing. Apparently, I've heard this, I'm not quite sure if it's true, that Franco Corelli, the tenor, he had said once that if he ever felt he was losing air, he would open his eyes a little bit wider and pretend like he was breathing in oxygen from his eyes. And I don't know. I mean, he's a tenor. Who knows? He was a tenor. But, there's something about that because sometimes our bodies are more capable of things than we think.
Yeah.
And if I have felt on the breaking point of losing air, I have thought of things kind of like this, so that actually the body keeps going and I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's more mind over matter.
Yeah. So, est-ce que vous avez compris? C'est dans la tête et c'est faire de la natation.
Yes. I really think swimming helps.
Yeah, I think
very
too.
much.
Yeah. Have you ever felt pressure from the opera house, social medias?
That's a great question.
Yeah, it's large because opera house, media, social media, it's very different, but
pressure, in that regard, no. There was a time I did. It was a while ago, it was a few years ago. I was actually working with someone who was doing my Instagram and helping me with my social media. Yeah. And that collaboration unfortunately ended on a very bad note. And when, let's say, the relationship was becoming sour, I was really not happy with what I was doing on social media and how it was affecting my mental stability, I guess, when it came to showing my life to people.
Because she was asking you to post some things about you?
It was more like we would agree on what I would post or we would post, but some of it, you know, especially like what was written down, it wasn't coming from my heart.
Yeah.
It was coming from a more surface level version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that that is a way to give something to people.
Yeah.
Especially as an artist, you know?
Yeah.
You know, artists, we are, well, the type of artist that I would like to be is a generous one, a giving one. And that also applies for how I am as a person. Sometimes I even give a little bit too much, but that's just how I am. And so I felt like if I couldn't put my heart into what I was posting, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
It was representing something else.
Yeah.
So when that relationship broke, and thankfully it did, I stepped away from social media a little bit because I also needed to rethink, well, what do I actually want to show with social media?
Yeah.
What matters to me? Then I started to become a little bit more active. I would say even 2 years ago, I became, in 2021, I started really becoming more active. And it was here in Paris that I started doing that because I just felt inspired again. And I just started posting things that came from my heart. And now I absolutely love it. I don't have any social media person, thank God. I probably never will again. I love it because I feel this very personal connection between what I post, the people that I talk to, you know, we message back and forth.
Yeah.
All people from all around the world, from all walks of life. No one else can see that but me. It's my thing. So no, I don't feel any more pressure or like a negative thing about it. It's very positive for me.
Yeah, yeah. And also it's positive and it's important to show how it can be good or bad sometimes. Because I think when you start to study, you want to be a singer and you idealize a bit.
Idolize, yes.
And sometimes it can be good to see like real life, you know?
It's showing, you know, out of all of us, with all of our complexities of who we are and what we've experienced in life, it shows probably only the best versions of that. And we are not always our best version. We're, thankfully, we're like many dimensional beings all in one. And we have our downtimes and our flaws and our mistakes. I think we're also living in an era where making mistakes is not okay.
Yeah.
You know, like you have to sort of tread very carefully what you say, what your opinions are, even how you've grown up. You know, to feel about certain things, and opportunities to have discussions about those things is kind of being blocked out of fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being cancelled.
And about pressure about opera house, that you have the first role in that opera, and the opera house tells you that people are waiting for you.
Even if one has been able to meet all of the expectations there could possibly be, there's always going to be one person who says, I didn't really like it.
Yeah.
That's not for me. That's the reality.
Yeah.
Because what is perfect and beautiful for one person could be ugly and not interesting for another. So actually, at the end of the day, you cannot please everybody. You can't. It's you will always fail if that's your goal, because that's just the reality of life. So it's more a question of why. Why do you do this? Is it just to seek out approval of others? Is it just to feel accepted? Is it to become famous? Is it to make a lot of money? Or are the whys much deeper than that? You know, I do this because it has saved me from who knows what in one's life. It certainly saved me personally from coming from myself. because it's a form of therapy. There's this joy that comes from performing and singing that nothing else yet in my life has been able to bring. Perhaps singing and performing for me is like what I would imagine giving birth to a child is. You know, like, I don't know yet because I've yet to give birth. Maybe one day I will. Who knows?
I hope for you.
Yeah,
it's a kind of experience.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, for now, you know, singing and being part of what I do, it brings so much clarity to my life and beauty into my life. So yeah, that's really how I feel. And I'll tell you, you know, Angeline, if I felt very stressed over this career, this lifestyle, because actually it's not even just a career. Yeah. It takes over your life.
Yes.
If it made me feel stressed, or it made me feel negative, or bitter, or I would just quit. I wouldn't be able to do it because I'm not a person I can't live in that type of existence. It would just make me feel so unsettled and so dissatisfied with life. Mm-hmm. And I have said before, and I really do mean it, that if this lifestyle career were to ever shift in my mind, and I thought of it in a more negative way than a positive way, I will absolutely find something else to do in life. Mm-hmm. Because life is meant to be lived. I really believe that, not survived. Yeah. Not to just survive through life. It's meant to be lived. And what you live, I think it's not just meant for you. It's meant to give to others, right? Or to give to your daughter, or, you know, whomever that you bring into your life or out. Or out of life. But it just like is part of my soul. Yeah. It is my soul. Yeah. And I feel very grateful every day for that. It's very cool.
We are now to the last question.
Yes.
If you could say something to the young Nadine who's dying to be a singer, what would you say to her? What would you advise? What would be your advice to her?
What would be my advice to my younger self?
Yeah.
Dying to be a singer. I would tell my younger self to not worry so much. Don't worry. Don't try to look into the future. Live in your present moment, as I have now learned at 35 years old. Live in your present moment. Enjoy those moments. Maybe even try to live it as if it could be your last. Because, looking into the future, we never know what happens in life. We can hope, we can manifest, we can pray, but we just never know what happens. And sometimes the things that come to us in life, we don't see them as blessings at the start. But there are so many things in our lives that end up being very, very good for us. Good lessons, even if they hurt in the beginning. But eventually, they can shape you into a beautiful person, a beautiful soul. And then giving that to other people. So I would say, to just keep living in the moment and try not to look so much ahead.
Don't worry.
Yeah, and don't worry. Don't worry, because worrying, I think, is also like stress, right? It can be a sickness. It can really make you sick. Situations are never permanent. Yeah. You know, it's not so black and white as that. There's so much gray in all of these types of situations that we live. Yeah.
I love to end this interview by that positive note.
Absolutely. I think it's the best one. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, the opera.
Yes, Opéra de Paris. Thank you. Merci beaucoup for the 2 dressing rooms.
The public of Paris will see you again in Opéra de Paris in the next few years.
Yes. There are two. There are two things. They are French.
Oh wow!
So
Okay, I can't wait. So thank you again, and to say bye bye to the viewers, I say like this: bye bye. So bye bye.